Alright, I wanted to talk really quickly about what, in Adventure Quest, what is the most potent bleed setup. Some of this is based on the actual power of the bleed, which is not the most powerful at first, but it becomes more powerful because of the combination of items starts to drop the saves to the point where the monster's never going to get out of it. And this is what I mean. So keep in mind, we're going to start with the Necromancer Armor, and then we're going to toggle on the bleed ability, the rending weave here. Okay, so all spells casted will now inflict bleed. In addition to that, we're going to go into here, and then we're going to raise skeleton, call undead beast, and then we're going to go to the end here on the fourth block here on the skills, do twin summoning, and do the undead beast there. We're going to toggle on bleed mode, which will have an increased MP cost here, and it will have the pet will also have an MP cost, which is fine because Necromancer has the ability to consume the bleed and increase its MP heal. So that's not a big deal because it can heal itself based on the very thing this combination is doing. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to use this undead minion misc. Okay, so if we come over here to the misc, if you're in Necromancer Armor, then it gets a -20 penalty as like a set bonus. The bleed now has a 30% save, so there's a couple of pets out there that have bleed potence 20, like the fracture point spear weapon has a bleed potence 20 on it. This misc essentially is going to have a bleed potence 20 built into it because your weapons and spells and pets will now attempt to inflict bleed while you use this. But if you're a Necromancer, now you get a 20 bleed potence built in. The spell we're going to be spamming is 74th Law. It does a bleed and burn, and the info sub says that the save is 30% for bleed. So it also has a -20 built-in bleed potence. So if you're in Necromancer Armor, you're going to cast a spell that does bleed. It has its own bleed that's going to stack the misc. So basically you have 3 different bleed effects stacking in one spell. The spell itself has a -20 save. The misc has a -20 save because you're a Necromancer, and the Necromancer itself has status potent 7.5. So the entire setup of this spell is essentially a 2.5 save. The monster is not going to resist it. And then you'll have your pet and guest, which will also inflict bleed, and then the misc will enhance the pet's bleed. It does not work with the guest. Okay, so that is the setup. And so all you're going to do is just spam 74th Law, and it will inflict bleed. The monster almost has no choice. So now we have a 1.763 that's on a celerity turn, and then we're getting enhanced bleeds here. So after that celerity turn, we had a 3.1 bleed, and the monster is gone. The spell itself doesn't do a lot of damage. spell itself doesn't do a lot of damage, as you can see. Not very much. But it's inflicting burn and bleed on the other side. So we've got 3,500 hit points, and now it went to 2,800, so about 700 damage there. I believe these undead beasts also have a positive BTH lean, which is helpful. So we already have a 2.8 bleed. At this point, you're going to be doing like 1,000 or more damage just on the bleed. The spell itself may inflict burn, like in this case it's a 5.81. And then if you remember, starting to get low on MP, we can consume the bleed to heal. But at this point, with a 2.86 bleed there, it's basically a nuke now. Pretty much you full heal and nuke at the same time. And that setup is Adventure Quest's most potent bleed setup.